Welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta, and today I'm joined by Matt Williams. So, Matt, how do you deal when the shit gets real? Or just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Matt. I'm the host of the Life Liberty Show. Again, thanks for having me. I don't really know what that question means because the shit gets real every single day, right?
I mean, that's a valid answer.
Every day, and that's more of a philosophical question, and I really enjoy it. How do I deal when the shit gets real? I guess it depends on what shit it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people that believe that when their toast got burnt, it's just an absolute atrocity and they're melting down. So, well, I guess this goes back to, no, I'm kidding.
I was like, "Ooh, we're gonna get a story."
No, really. Okay, let's do that. Let's do a story. Story time.
Story time. I'm ready.
I remember when I was trying to remember how old I was. We'll go with this one. I was 15 years old. I'd moved around a bunch from family member to family member. Kind of didn't have a good life growing up. Have a good relationship with my mom now. Totally different story then. I've lived with my aunt, two of my aunts, my grandparents, and then at one point I moved in with my dad. And when I moved in with my dad, we moved into our old place, which was owned by my grandparents right behind their old mechanic shop. They had a duplex, and we lived in one of them. And what I remember moving into this house, and we didn't have anything. We had, I think, a couch and a chair. That was the only thing in the whole house. And I remember at one point sitting there by myself. It was cold. In South Texas, it was cold. But me saying it was cold, it was probably like, I don't know, it was probably like 65. But
I mean, in an empty house with only a couple things, it very well could be very chilly.
But I remember I was there by myself for 2 days. No food, no water, nothing. And laying there with just an alarm clock. And I took the cushions off of the chairs and couches and put them on the floor so I had something to lay on. And I was just nothing to do, nowhere to go. So, I mean, the shit got real, I guess, then, right? So
Yeah.
that you could either freak out or you can just embrace the suck, as the Marine Corps says. And I think I've been embracing the suck for way too long. That there was a time in my life when I cracked, right? You have a hard time embracing the suck. You just get tired. But then I remember, let's go back to this story. I remember my dad showing up, my biological father. And he was like, all right, let's go. I was like, where are we going? He's like, we're going on a shrimp boat. Okay, let's go. By the way, I'm allergic to seafood, all shellfish, all seafood. Spent 30 days on a shrimp boat.
And you survived without like going to anaphylactic or anything? Good Lord Almighty.
Listen, I'm a monster. I've been on boats most of my life, right?
Okay, cool.
But the first time I'd ever been on a shrimp boat, on an actual go out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, not a bay boat, not a fishing boat. It was fun. We were cruising, got out the jetty, and then we got into open water. First day was cool, no big deal. Just got to watch the land mass disappear into the abyss, right? And then the second day, I woke up with the worst freaking seasickness, right? I didn't have my sea legs. And when I got so woke up puking everything. That night they made lasagna. And I don't know if any of you have ever been on big boats, but our bunks had little mattresses, and there were the wooden rails all the way around. So every time the boat would sway, the mattress would slide, right? So you're like, well, the same thing on all the tables. So around the kitchen table, you're like holding your cup and your plate, um, and then as I'm sick as a dog, and I sit down and I say, oh, it's lasagna. And they go, yeah, shrimp lasagna. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not eating.
Oh
So,
no.
so I didn't eat for 4 days.
And you were
Um,
getting sick, so that's
and I
great.
was getting sick. Yeah. It was, there's, there's a lot of things that go on in your life whenever you just have to do it. You just have to do it. Right. That's just how it is. The same trip, we had some good times. There were some really good times. Yeah. I got seasick and, it was pretty shitty at the beginning. But then I guess this is what you do whenever the shit gets real, right? You think about the good times. You have to think about the good times.
Yeah.
Or you're always going to be in a state of depression, or in a state of fight or flight at all times. And believe you me, for 5 years, fight or flight sucked.
Leads to a lot of other problems.
A lot of other problems. So I remember sitting up in the steering wheel, whatever, captain's quarters or whatever you want to call it, right? And the captain, Cowboy was his name, him and his wife, and then it was me and my dad. And I remember looking up and seeing just a bunch of magazines on the dashboard, right? Which I'm sure it's not called a dashboard. Somebody can correct me, but it's and I stood up to get one. I was like, I'm gonna check these out. Still kind of weak. Knees are weak, arms are heavy. Anyway,
Mom spaghetti.
and I grab one of them, and it's a Playboy, and I'm like, 15 years old. I'm gonna sit here and look at a Playboy. Well, he had every issue that could ever be put out. Um, and just know that I have found every single bunny on the cover, because there's a hidden bunny on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of their little things.
That's a way to
Um,
pass time.
I mean, you can only look at nipples for so long, right? I mean,
True.
I know I was 14 and hormones going crazy, but after you've seen the same woman's titties and nipples and ass so many times that aren't moving, they're just kind of steady. You can only jerk off to the same ass cheek so many times.
Also,
Um,
like, you're on a boat, you don't really have any privacy.
Entertainment.
Well, that too, but
Oh
like,
no, there was plenty of privacy.
okay.
So my dad and Cowboy and his wife were heroin addicts.
Ew.
Um,
Okay,
so
that's fun.
yeah, so I had plenty of privacy, plenty. They mapped everything, and then they would just go do their thing, and I was sitting up there. Now, come let's see, we would drop anchor at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we got to where we wanted to be. We drop anchor, and they get all the maps charted for where we're going to run. Right, we just run in a big circle all night long, and while we're sitting there, we get to do whatever we want. Right, because there's nothing going on. We clean, we just sit on our ass, smoke a bunch of cigarettes, do whatever.
Read
They would go
Playboy.
read Playboy, and and then whenever we pull anchor, we drop the nets and we get trolling. So we would pick the nets up. We would pull the nets twice a night, 2 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the morning. And what we would do is we'd pull the nets, empty all the shrimp onto the deck of the boat, and then drop the nets back out. And we would sit there, and there's a big pile of shrimp, and you're in your Reeboks, what we call Reeboks. They're just rubber boots that are 2 times the size for you. Look, you got them stretched out, they're sitting on your bucket, and you got your orange basket that I don't know if anybody, for those of you that have ever done anything in the oceanic field, it's a orange basket. I'm actually looking down and imagining it. This is weird, but it looks like a laundry basket, but it's not. And so we're sitting there. And we got a rake. It's a pole about yay long, and it's got a triangle on the end of it. And you reach forward, and whenever you reach forward, you pull as many shrimp to you as you can, and then you pick them up and you just pop their heads off with your thumb. And it's called head and shrimp. And you just grab boom, 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 boom. And then whenever you get your hands too full, you don't do one at a time. I mean, you technically do, but you hold the rest of them in your hand and you keep picking them up and you just pack in your palms and you throw it in a basket and you move on. We do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then the nets would be pulled and we wouldn't drop them again at 6. But after we're done heading shrimp, we bag them, we put them on ice in the cooler. We clean up the deck, right? You clean everything up. Every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, it took us about 35, 45 minutes to get everything head and to get the deck completely cleaned up. And then whenever you sit on the ice box, I would sit on the ice box and watch the sunrise. That's if there's ever a scene that I would say is the most beautiful on the planet, is being out in the middle of the ocean, watching the sunrise and not seeing land for forever. I've seen something comparable when I was in Fallujah, a sunset. There was a fantastic sunset in Fallujah that was really pretty. But back to shrimping, a really good story. Whenever we'd stop, right, we'd drop anchor all day, nothing to do. We'd get on the outriggers, and when the outriggers stick out off the boat that have your nets hanging on them, so that they can drag the bottom of the ocean or the ocean floor. Whenever you're just sitting still, those outriggers will, they'll touch the water one way or the other. And this is a really good place to think about Lieutenant Dan sitting up on the top on the crow's nest of the boat. But we crawl out on the outriggers, and you wait for the opposite one to hit the water, right? And you jump off. And I remember jumping off, and it's the scariest thing I've ever done. I've jumped off of cliffs. I've been in Iraq twice, right? 15 years old, jumping off of something. I don't know how deep it is. We were 600, 700, 800 foot deep, but didn't know what was in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if the height that I jump off is going to hurt me, right? I just don't know. So it's pretty scary. And I just watched my dad do it, and he did like a double freaking backflip and almost did an Olympic dive, no splash. I was like, wee, I'm going to try this. And I crawl out there, and it's, you don't just like get up and walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get on the outrigger, and it's a triangle. So you get up on it, and you're holding the tubes on either side, and you're kind of leaned over, and you're crawling up it. So
Mm-hmm.
this whole time, and as it's coming up, right, your weight distribution is changing. So as it's an experience. Anyway, I'm up there, I jump off, and I just do a pencil dive, right? Just feet first, trying to get my legs underneath me and understand how it's going. I hit the water. I remember hitting the water and then just kind of falling into an abyss where you're getting at the bottom of where you're hit, and it just kind of goes, and then your butt's below you, your feet come up, and I look around me and I'm like, I see nothing. No light, no nothing, total darkness. And then I just let my body kind of allow me to go where it's going to go. Buoyancy is going to do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of freaking out, right? This is when shit gets real. This is a very moment in somebody's life where shit gets real. You're in the ocean, you don't see nothing, you don't know where you're at, and some people would just absolutely freak.
Oh, yeah.
Even at 15 years old, I had the wit to understand that I don't know where I'm at. I can't see light above me, nothing. So I just allowed buoyancy to tell me where I'm going. And as soon as I started moving, then I started kicking. And it's the longest I have ever swam straight up in my entire life. And you're just, and then I get my head popped up out of water, and you do the, and you wipe your face, and then all of a sudden I hear my dad. My dad's on the side of the boat, and he goes, "Shark!" And I come up right next to the tickler chain. And for those of you that don't know what the tickler chain is, the tickler chain drops off the end of the outriggers. It has kind of like an anchor on it. It's flat. You drop it down to the bottom. It drags the bottom of the ocean floor, and it knocks up the shrimp. Anyway, I grab the tickler chain, and as it's going up, right, because your outrigger is going up at this point, because I've already gone down, it followed me down, and it's starting to go back up. And I grab this chain, and I'm, this much water, grab the chain, and I'm thinking, I'm getting out of here. And as I get to about waist high, my hands are only good enough on a wet chain, right? Your grip strength is only so good. Well, you get about waist high, and you're holding on to this, and then all of a sudden the chain is going through your fingers. You're like, ah! Just so I'm never really out of the water. I'm starting to freak. Oh wait, when shit gets real, another time, right? So I'm like, I'm absolutely freaking. And then the outrigger hasn't gone all the way up, but I'm still up out of the water about waist high, just holding on to this chain. And in the distance, I hear a chuckle and a laugh, and I'm like, what in the hell? So I turn and look, and my dad's on the side of the boat, just laughing his ass off, and he pisses himself because there was no shark.
Of course not.
But it's another one of those times, right? It's like when shit gets real. So a shrimping was go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna, have you seen the movie Walk the Line?
With a hair lip guy, right? Johnny
with
Cash.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yes.
Yeah.
There is a moment in the movie where where he's not Joaquin's, Johnny Cash's dad comes and he's like, "Where you been?" Did you have one of those moments with your dad when he left you for 2 days? Did you ever say to him, like, "Where you been?"
No. And the reason for that is because when I was 5 years old, my dad left, and he was in and out of my life. Like right now, okay? I've told you he's a heroin addict. He just got busted last year in my hometown. He was the leader of a drug ring.
So he's still battling drugs.
Oh, he's in prison now. Yeah, he just got 14 years. He'll end up dying in prison. Yeah, for drugs. Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
So he's kind of been in and out of my life my whole life, as long as I can remember.
So it became normal.
Yeah. Him disappearing was just kind of normal. Okay. And my mom and my stepdad, right? They were never into heroin or anything, but they smoked weed. They would snort coke. They would, right? So by the time I was 14, I was already weighing and dealing. So, and this was in Oklahoma, Norman.
Did you ever do drugs yourself, or were you just dealing?
I smoked weed. I never went any further than that. I watched my dad. I never wanted to be like my dad, and I was told my whole life that I was going to end up just like my dad. So I worked really hard not to be.
You said challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. And then sometimes I feel like I am, right? I don't have the quintessential life that my family, that side of my family would have thought, right? I've owned a couple businesses, but my grandfather owned a mechanic shop for my grandmother and grandfather owned a mechanic shop for 30 plus years, and this is my dad's parents, and they all told me I was going to be just like my dad. They treated me like I was my dad. Um, my stepdad told me I was a piece of shit and that I wasn't going to amount to anything. I was going to be just like my dad. Um, and these are all reasons why I joined the Marine Corps, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so we, when I joined the Marine Corps, I've said this a couple times on my podcast for any of you that want to go watch it. It's the Life Liberty Show. Um, I joined the Marine Corps quite literally to kill and die. That was my whole mission. I had nothing to come home to. I knew that if I continued on the path that I was on, I would either be in jail or I would be dead. Um, so I might as well put some honor to my name whenever I die. And fighting for our country, I felt like would be one of those reasons that my family would finally be able to um accept me as not my father. Um,
You definitely were
and
very well aware.
I'm sorry,
Said you definitely were very well aware.
of,
Self self aware, like what you've been talking about this whole time. Like even at 14, you were self aware of like being in the water, and now it's still with you about joining the Marine Corps. Like very honest reason of why you joined the Marine Corps. Like if I didn't come back, I didn't come back. You know, a lot of people wouldn't be honest about that.
oh, okay. I'm kind of honest to a fault anymore. I lied for so long in my life, and it created webs of deceit that caused more problems in my marriage. Um, that I finally was just like, I'm done. I've emptied all of those lies, and whenever like whenever anybody asks me something, I try and skirt around it. I'm like, I mean, do you really want me to tell you the truth? Or I'm just outright honest. And sometimes it's my opinion, sometimes it's my experience, and sometimes it's just outright facts. Um, and whenever somebody if somebody lacks the ability to understand the difference in those three, that is not my problem, that is their problem.
Hmm.
But I have got to a point in my life. I don't know if it's the age that we are, right? Because I remember my family just kind of at a certain point didn't give a fuck anymore. Um, but
See, my my family is kind of the opposite, but my mom and her brother and sisters will still bring up shit that happened 30 fucking years ago. And
and it's why they act the way they act. And
I'm like, why? Why are you arguing about something that happened 30 years ago? Who cares?
my mom just did it last night. So my mom was at our house. We were all over here, and I was scrolling through TikTok, and I seen my uncle, my mom's brother's ex-wife. She had posted something, and I go, "Hey, ma, look, this is Sylvia. Do you do you follow her on TikTok?" And she goes, "No, fuck that bitch." I was like, "Why? What happened?" And she goes, "It was she just fuck that bitch." And I was like, "Why? Is it something that your brother told you is why you're upset at her?" And she goes, "No. When I worked with her at Port Royal, she 30 fucking years ago, mom, let the shit go."
It it must be that generation or did your mom come from a big family?
Four siblings, five.
Okay, so decently big. And I could be wrong because I'm an only child. So like this is just my observation. But I feel that generation, especially because they came from bigger families, not everybody really got the attention that they needed or wanted as children. I know my mom didn't.
I'm,
And
I'm glad you changed that from needed to wanted.
yeah, wanted would be the more appropriate,
Yeah,
obviously, because that was a time where my grandma worked two jobs, my grandpa worked two jobs. They were just trying to keep food on the table. So they had to do what they had to do. But, as kids, you don't understand that.
and it
And
was a
sometimes I
peace love time.
it was a peace love time. And sometimes I feel, at least for my family, they hang on to that because it's like the only thing they have is to like hang on to that. And I'm like, but why? Why do you want to hang on to something that's so icky?
Well, and it ruins your life now, right?
Yes, also that.
If you may not think so, like just bringing up this person to my mom, she may have never thought about the woman in 25 years, right? And it's something else that she thinks about all the time, not that dumb bitch. Like, I don't think she's a dumb bitch, but my mom's words, right?
Right.
Um, to have that emotion, that visceral reaction whenever you think about somebody from 30 years ago, that is an imprint on your soul that just takes something away from you forever.
And I've talked about this with other guests. You're giving that person power that they don't need to have. Why are you giving somebody else your power?
100%.
It makes no sense. Like, you're giving them more power than they even deserve to have. Like, just don't care.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I learned that whenever I got out of the Marine Corps. So I was discharged from the Marine Corps with another an honorable discharge. It's 3 years, 3 years, 2 months, and like 28 days or some shit, right?
Not that you were counting or anything.
No. Um,
You naughty boy, what
so
did you do?
we'll get into that in a second. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was okay, right? Because I was still fuck the Marine Corps, fuck them, they did me wrong. And then about 2 years later, um, my PTSD kicked in. Um, my I was turned down for a couple. I wasn't really turned down. Um, I was offered a couple jobs, and then they wanted my DD 214, and the OTH was on my DD 214, and I just never came back. Right, like if they asked me for it, I just never showed up. They're like, "Yeah, you got the job, and $1 million a year." Um, but that OTH was like, that's not worth it. Um, so I held on to it, and then I went into a spiral of just anger. For 6 years, I
Woo,
was
that's a long spiral.
it was awful, 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 awful. Um, it got bad. I was angry with everybody. I had assault charges. Not necessarily alcoholism, but I
You were
had
drinking.
alcohol. I was self-medicating. Um,
I think a lot of prior military do. Obviously not all, but there is a lot of
sure,
prior military that do.
sure. Um, and then there was a particular time I had got drunk at a buddy's house that was a local law enforcement officer, and I was on the fire department, volunteer fire department at the time. I was running 98% of the calls I was at.
Wow.
That was my call volume, 98% of them. And um, so I was awake, which I still do, right? I still have a problem with sleep now. I can stay up for 36, 48 hours, no problem. My body just doesn't shut down. I can lay in bed for hours and hours and hours. Um, it's not insomnia, right? It's I don't know. It's just something to do with my clock. Um, just like this, right? We have this scheduled. I got up at 5:24. So I'll stay up for days and then sleep for forever. And that caused a problem with work and jobs too,
Of
which
course.
then only compounded on the anger of society and everything. But anyway, I was at my buddy's house, and um, I had been awake for a long time, and we were playing drinking games, and my brain fell asleep, but my body stayed awake, and I cleared his house, like completely destroyed his house, flipped over his tables. Um, I I hear my wife tells me that at one point when there was a center pillar in the house, right? Dining room, living room, kitchen, dining room. And I was kind of going around that, clearing the house. And she was in the kitchen and she said I grabbed her by the throat and slammed
Mm.
her against the cabinets. And I was appalled. I've I've never been physical with a woman ever in my life. I watched my mom get abused growing up, and it was something I said I would never do. And I was appalled that I did it. But I woke up in jail. There were some spits that I remember. We can get into those stories some other time. I may do an episode, or maybe I'll write a book.
You know, I support that idea, but we'll get into that. Maybe.
Um, maybe. So but I remember asking her later when I got out of jail and I got out of the stress center. I was going to lose my family if I didn't go to a stress center after that, right? I went to jail. I was physical with my wife, and I could see the fear in her eyes whenever
I've
when I
never
walked out of.
Sorry, not trying to interrupt you. I've never heard of a stress center. What is a stress center?
It's a psych ward, but
Okay.
they choose not to call it that, right? PC. It was the fourth floor of our hospital where only the crazy people go. You're locked in. You're on a 72-hour hold. I was on a voluntary 72-hour hold. Um, they'd take all your strings away from you, anything, right?
Okay.
So
Okay. I'm with you.
yeah. So I I I get out of the stress center and I'm asking my wife some questions. Only out of pure curiosity, right? Like I want to make sure what's going on here I can deal with. And I start asking her questions, and then she tells me I grabbed her by the throat and I slammed her up against the cabinets, and I picked her up. Like her feet were off the ground. And she said I kept scratching my back. So with my free hand, with my right hand, I kept scratching my back, and I was like, I wasn't scratching my back, honey. She was like, what do you mean? I was my flak jacket. I carried my knife on the back of my flak jacket. So I was reaching for something that I couldn't get, but I continued reaching. Um, and the doctors say it's an alcohol induced delirium, is what they called it. But the VA would call it a flashback. Um, so that was a really big eye opener for me.
I bet.
And then my mom lived with us, and she had pissed me off. And at that time I said, I'm not drinking anymore. I had sworn off drinking at that point. My wife was scared for me to drink. She didn't want me to eat pizza for a long time. She didn't want me to drink coffee for a long time, because these are some of the things that we had pizza that night. They'd given me a cup of coffee. I was sitting at the end of the table. They were trying to sober me up. They didn't know what had triggered this episode. And so we were kind of walking on eggshells. And then my mom moved in with us. I was still um, very forceful with my words. And I, I was angry still. Just, I couldn't control it. I was just, things would set me off. My mom had pissed me off. We left and we went to a friend's house, and I got drunk again, got arrested again. And then we found um, Focus Marine Foundation. It's by Marines for Marines. It's so if there's any Marines out there that are struggling, look up Focus Marine Foundation. They
I'll
will
put it
definitely help you out.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Um, but it's a 5-day retreat is what it is. It's in St. Louis, out in the middle of the woods. Very beautiful facility. Where it's a lot of counselors doing talks and shit like that, right? Just trying to give you as much information as possible. I was irritated that I was there. I didn't really care to be there. Um, a lot of what they were saying, I ignored. And then there was one lady. If she ever hears me say this, I've said it so many times. I hope she hears me say this. Um, but she had just going through her spiel and she had made the statement. By the time you're 8 years old, your future's predetermined. And my daughter was 8 years old. And I asked, right? I'm bawling. I'm, as you can tell, I'm getting kind of um, watery now, but I was just absolutely bawling, raised my hand, and I said, did I fuck up my daughter? And she said, no, you can change. You can build that relationship back, which in my opinion was kind of a contradictive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she wasn't wrong. I'm, I'm still building the relationship with that daughter. Um, but that was the very moment that I decided that I was going to be different. And I was a very, very angry person. I remember I come home. We had a deep freezer out on our front porch. My daughter had wanted a phone. I was like, no, you don't need a fucking phone. What do you need a phone for? You're 8. And I'm sitting there, leaned against the deep freeze, and my daughter comes out and she asked me a question, a very basic question. And I noticed that just her asking me the question made me angry. And I I I bit, right? I was like, "Rah!" And then I said, no, I'm getting angry. Come back in 5 minutes. Let me regroup, and then we'll address this. And she came back in 5 minutes. I was calmer. We addressed it. Um, it. I don't think that my method of changing who I am will work for everyone. But there's something that I say quite frequently. If you've been through a couple of my episodes, anybody here, you'll hear me say, you have to choose to change. No no matter what it is, you have to choose. Just like I didn't want to be at Focus Marine Foundation. I didn't. I just didn't want to be there. And then whenever she said what she said, I chose to be different. Drug addicts, no matter how many times you send them to rehab, if they don't choose to be different, then they're not going to be different.
Yeah.
Alcoholics, same way. So with my progression of getting it took me a long time. And I spent a lot of time on social media with my wife in the room with me. She'll be in the comments, but she'll be in the room, and I argue with people and get angry. And every time I said something, oops, excuse me, every time I said something and I'd feel my blood pressure go up, right? I could feel me getting angry. I would mute, turn my camera off, and I'd look at my wife and say, was I wrong? And she would say yes or no. And if she said yes, then it was, how could I change it? What did I say? So I made a conscious effort to be different. And I still struggle with it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Just before this, I was in the green room here while you were getting your stuff worked out, and I was 20 minutes early, 30 minutes early, and I went on TikTok, and I go into a live, and they say something, and I request to go up. First thing they say, how old are you and who'd you vote for? I said, I'm 41 and who I voted for is irrelevant in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, it's absolutely relevant. No, it's not. And he goes, oh, you voted for Kamala. Listen, if you're going to say that just because I choose not to tell you who I voted for, um, if it was 10 years ago, I would have been right in there calling him names, right? But why? Why?
Yeah.
What does it solve?
Yeah. And my thing too is that I say to people that get like that, there's a reason you go into the voter box by yourself with little walls around you.
Oh, I
And
agree.
why we were never why we never talked about it before. And it's fine that we talk about it now. I'm totally not against it, but people need to be able to have an adult conversation.
Sure.
But there is a reason we go into that voter box by ourselves.
Exactly right. But nonetheless, it was the reason I wanted to go up is because they were talking about the amendments. Lady was like, "Oh, I care about the Constitution," and somebody
Hmm.
said, "Oh, I think we should repeal the 14th Amendment." And I was like, "Hmm." And then the lady, she
Interesting.
goes, "Yeah, yeah." The lady goes, "If you don't know what the 14th Amendment is, it got rid of slavery and gave everybody the opportunity to vote." So, um, the lady was like, "Well, I'm okay with getting rid of the 14th as long as we can get rid of the second." And I'm very much a gun advocate,
That
and
escalated quickly,
it,
also.
it escalated quickly. Yeah. So I come up to ask her if we could repeal the 14th Amendment first, right? If we can get rid of the 14th Amendment first, well, then your opinion on the Second Amendment doesn't matter. So I was going up to have some fun. But these people are all rage baiters, and
Oh, especially on TikTok.
oh, 100%. So if you allow yourself, and this goes in all life, every single day, not just social media. If you allow somebody's actions to determine your reaction, then you have already lost.
Absolutely. The way I phrase it to a lot of people too, because sometimes it helps to break it down in a different way, is you have to stop thinking of things happening to you. Instead, they're
Hmm.
happening for you. Because
Oh yeah,
everybody's like, it's happening to me. No, it's happening for you, but you need to figure out why.
that's a pretty good. I've never heard that either. That's pretty good.
You're
Because
welcome.
for every action, there's an opposite reaction, and if something is happening for you, then and everything that has happened to me in my life has brought me to where I'm at today. So
Hmm.
all of those things
Absolutely.
happened for me to become the person I am. So it's yeah, you're absolutely right. I love it. I'm
Well, and there's
holding
also
on to
that.
that.
Okay, you hold on to it. There's also that quote too by what is it, Charles Swindle? You know that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So there's always that
That's absolutely true. Or 10% what happens for you and 10 or
for you.
90% how you react.
See, we're
Yeah,
gonna change it. See,
we're gonna
we're
change
still
it.
evolving.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, so let's get to the Marine Corps. You had asked about the OTH. You wanted me to bring it up.
I mean, it's
Um,
up to you.
I
Plus,
don't care.
I just had to give you a hard time because you're like, I got it, and then so I just had bad boy, very very
Yeah, I
bad
know.
boy.
I made some mistakes.
Hey, we
So
all have. We all have. Anybody that tries to tell you that they didn't is a lying lie face.
lying lie face. You lying liar face. Um, so I'll kind of give a brief overview of kind of the timeline of my career in the Marine Corps. Um, 18 years old, right after 9/11, I joined the Marine Corps. I signed up. I'm gonna go be the best of the best. My
Woo!
stepdad um, was in the army, treated me like shit, so I'm gonna be better than him. 2 weeks before I left for boot camp, I went to my grandfather's house and I was like, "Hey, by the way, I want to let you know I'm leaving for boot camp, Marine Corps boot camp in 2 weeks." And he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And he just stood up and he said, "Come here." We went into his bedroom. He opened the top drawer of his dresser and started pulling out medals, his EGA. Like I never knew he was a Marine. Never knew. Started showing me pictures, all kinds of stuff. But you got to remember, it's a different era, right? He
It
come
is.
back from the military and put his nose to the grindstone and just his military service um, did not define who he is, or was. He's dead now, but um, it didn't define who he was. Did the characteristics of what he did, right? The honor, courage, commitment, the drive, those things were still embedded in him, but he never, I'm the Marine, right? Like that was never a persona of his. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I joined the Marine Corps. Um, I'm I did have my ultimate goal of never coming home. Um, got through boot camp. So I joined in 2002. And if y'all don't remember, 9/11 was 2001.
Mm-hmm. That was a hard year
Um,
for me. I think besides that, and I know it was a hard year for a lot of people, but that year tried to unalive me. Anyway, continue.
oh, I want to get into that some other time.
Some
Maybe,
other time.
maybe we have you on my show.
Oh Lord. All right, continue.
So, um, no, I did boot camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
um, I somehow was graced with the ability for recruiter's assistance. So right after boot camp, you get your 2 weeks off right before you go to MCT or AIT, depending on what your career path is. Um, and I did my 2 weeks vacation, and then I did 2 weeks recruiter's assistance, and then I went back for MCT. Um, everything went great. Everything was cool, right? Stress, woo, learn shit, dig holes, sit in the mountains, woo,
Woo.
um, woo. Because that wasn't my ultimate mission, right? Like, take care of, do all this stress, learn all this stuff so I can get to war and do what I want to do. Um, got to MOS school right after MCT, flew from San Diego, California to Aberdeen, Proving Ground, Maryland. And that was in October, November. Um, so it was hot in California, landed in Baltimore, and it was fucking frigid. 2 feet of snow on the ground, like it was cold. Um, but I was a motivated Marine, right? So no matter what my ultimate mission was, I was still proud to be a Marine. It was achieving um, achieving something that I never thought I would ever be able to do in my life. Done some crazy things, but to finish the Reaper and be handed the EGA, almost every Marine will tell you that, right? It's something that you have accomplished that very few people have, and it is very hard. um I think I had a little bit more of an advantage. I knew it was a mental game going in. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a physical game, it's a mental game, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
fucked with all my life, so I had a little bit more advantage. It caught up with me later. So MOS school, Moto Marine, I went and got a tattoo. I went and got Semper Fi USMC, right? This was my first tattoo, and then I got USMC Semper Fi. Apparently there was a post brief that was supposed to happen by a first sergeant, but whenever we showed up at the barracks at 10 o'clock at night, that first sergeant wasn't there. That we weren't supposed to be getting tattoos because of a Hep C outbreak. Well, I went and got a tattoo. And at some
Whoops.
point, no, whoops, I got it. Fuck them. um, but and through the whole time that I was there was a scenario we'd march to class, we'd be in formation, and we're fucking kids. So I'm at the back of the formation, and I'm talking with somebody, and the lance corporal, as a PFC, the lance corporal that was leading formation and calling cadence, had told us to be quiet. And a new movie had come out, and one of the phrases or quotes is, "I don't gives a fuck," and that's what I said. I was like, "I don't gives a fuck," and we continued. Thought nothing of it. I graduated MOS school February 29th, 2003. My first NJP was February 29th, 2003. Destruction of government property and disrespect to a senior Marine.
Wait a minute. Was destruction of government property the tattoo?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of funny, honestly.
Yeah. It was destruction of government property and disobeying a direct order, which I never received. And then the disrespect towards a senior Marine was me telling a Lance Corporal that I didn't give a fuck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and that was all put on. I can't remember what they call it. Basically, it was 6 months. 6 months of I lost rank, lost pay, blah blah blah, and then for 6 months they were like, "We're not going to impose this on you," because it was 2003, right? And they knew that if I was to be put on restriction, lose rank, lose pay, I would be non-deployable. So deferred, I think is what they called it, where if you do something in 6 months, then you get all of those charges plus whatever.
Okay.
So it was deferred. I landed in California, Camp Pendleton, California, March 1st, 2003. I turned 19 March 2nd, 2003. March 7th, 2003, I'm on an airplane. I'm guessing March 7th, right? I don't know for sure. On a plane to Kuwait.
What unit were you with?
The 7th Engineer Support Battalion.
Okay.
And I only got attached to him in Kuwait. So whenever we were already pushing forward, right? We'd already had troops in Kuwait getting ready to push into Iraq. So Camp Pendleton was a ghost town. It really was. And
yeah,
we were all kind of overflow, and we were pushed into an area where they were all just doing paperwork trying to get us to go overseas, and nobody knew who they were with. Nothing. Like when I was there and I wanted you to mail me something, I would have had no idea who to give it to. No idea what my address was in Camp Pendleton before I went. And then I remember calling my mom, sitting. If we ever go back to Camp Pendleton, I'll be able to draw ash cheeks on the very step I was sitting on, right? When I called my mom the first time and told her, "Hey, Ma, in 96 hours, I'll be on a plane headed to Kuwait." And she goes, bless you. She goes, she freaks, right? Because she didn't want me to join the Marine Corps. She didn't want me to join the military because she knew what was going to happen. Anyway, I make my my first tour. Everything goes off without a hitch. I come back. I start having problems. Start going out quite a bit. Start showing up late to work. I got NJP'd for something. I don't remember what it was. I could pull out my records and go through dates and figure it out. But and then it got put on deferment again because I would have been non-deployable. And then I made my second tour, and I became Combat Service Support Battalion, CSSB 1, Combat Service Support Battalion 1, Alpha Company Armor. I was their armor. So all I did was get up every day and go to the armory that was in Fallujah, Camp Fallujah, which was worthless for me to go there every day. I just went and sat there and did nothing. But I would get woke up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock or whenever, right? Whenever they go out, I'd have to get up, go open the armory, give them their 50 cals, their Mark 19s, their 240 Golfs if they weren't carrying them. Get them mounted, lube them, make sure everything was operational. And I got woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning by Lance Corporal. I have no idea what his fucking name was. Got woke up and he said, First Sergeant Novanek wants to see you. Good to go. So I got up, and I had just got to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning because I had just got up, loaded everybody up, got them out.
I'm starting
And
to understand where your sleep problems are coming from, but continue.
no, um, um, there's a whole lot more to my story than my military sleep problems.
But still, I'm seeing where it started.
Oh no, it started way before that. But anyway, I get to First Sergeant Novanek. I call him First Sergeant No Neck, and if you're listening to this, there, First Sergeant No Neck, fuck you. He's the only person I truly still have animosity towards.
I'm sure we're about to find out here why in a second.
You are. So, the armory was just ISO containers, right? So it wasn't a building that was, some super crazy lockdown. It was razor wire around the little complex. Nothing fancy. Just some locks on the freaking ISO containers. And I get woke up, brought in, First Sergeant Novanek's just screaming at me. And I'm confused. I still have no idea. Dereliction of duty. Okay, good to go. And he's like, get the fuck out of my company. All right. Come to find out, I get over to H&S Company. Gunny Pullum, acting first sergeant, Gunnery Sergeant Pullum. He was acting first sergeant for H&S Company at Combat Service Support Battalion 1 in Fallujah. And he come over, First Sergeant Novanek come over and wanted to send me back to the States. And he wanted to court-martial me. He wanted to get me kicked out of the Marine Corps. And Gunny looked at First Sergeant and said, get the fuck out of my company and stop talking about my Marines like that. And First Sergeant had it out for me. So down the road, I find out that the armory was left unlocked. It was unsecure. So I was forced, in my armory, I was forced to allow comms, communications, to come in and use one of my ISO containers to put their radios and batteries and shit in. Well, I had got all the rifles mounted. I had got all the machine guns mounted. Everything's good to go. And I walk up to Corporal. In fact, I don't even remember his fucking name. And that's a problem in my opinion. I don't remember a lot of the people that I served with. And I think it's because I just kept moving, and I have very few people that I remember their names in the Marine Corps. Anyway, I went to Corporal and was like, hey, I'm all done. Be sure and lock down the armory. I'm going to hit the rack. And good to go. Well, I'm a Lance Corporal at the time. He's a corporal. Am I wrong for saying, hey, Corporal, you have the authority to lock my armory? You've been told that you're going to be here. Paperwork may have been wrong. I may not have been able to actually give him the authority to do that. I don't fucking know. I'm a boot-ass fucking 20-year-old Lance Corporal. I've been bounced around. Nobody explained anything to me about nothing. And so I was kicked out of Alpha Company Armory because this corporal left the armory unsecure, and I took the blame for it. Well, whenever we got back to the after my second tour, First Sergeant Novanek moved into the barracks. He went through a divorce. He sold his trailer, his RV, and he moved into the barracks. He was the Alpha Company First Sergeant. The Alpha Company office was in our barracks. So he just slept in his office. And he got me in JP'd a couple times. He had it out for me. And did I make mistakes? Yes. I absolutely made the mistakes that I made. 100%. I got put on restriction, moved back to the barracks. I had a barracks room. I just lived with other people, right? Stopped coming into field day, all that shit. I'm not messing up the room. I'm not going to be there. If y'all don't like it, pound sand. Um, but I got in trouble. I don't remember what that time was that I got in trouble for. Um, got put on restriction. Well, a buddy of mine from the armory, I was still in the armory at this point. Um, went he come to help me move all of my shit because I lived in the garage of somebody's house on base, and we had just unloaded everything. Well, after my second tour, on the way back, I was carrying an M16 and a 249. So I had the 249, the M16, and my M9. And I had the spare barrel. Spare barrel I attached to the side of my bag, and it was underneath the bus whenever we got on base. And I'm carrying 3 weapons to the armory, handing the shit in at 1 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I'm making excuses. There are no excuses for my mistake. It was a mistake. Um, and I I didn't give the barrel back, right? It turned into the armory. So when I got put on restriction, I had the barrel hanging in my room. I was like, hey, I'm going to take this back to the armory. Young punk ass kid, cared about partying, fucking. I didn't care about turning a fucking barrel in that nobody knew existed. Um, and then I got in trouble. He was helping me. I went over and I grabbed it and said, hey, Wilcox, will you take this to the army? Because I was out of the armory at this point. I got kicked out because of this NJP. I was put over at H&S Company maintenance, and he was like, yeah, no problem. He took it into the armory. Um, the commanding officer was in there whenever he walked in carrying this bag and this barrel, asked where he got it. He didn't lie. He got it from me, right? It was, oh, Williams had it. It was hanging in his room. Well, they hit me with larceny. They
Oh
tried to hit me
Lord.
with larceny of government property. Um, and and then wait, yeah, yeah, that was all kind of in the same fucking ordeal. But I was on restriction and I was late to check in. So cardinal sin, right? When you're on
Mhm.
restriction, you can't ride in a vehicle. You just can't. To check in, you can't ride in a vehicle. And to work, you can't ride in a vehicle. You have to walk. Well, I was late. So my neighbor, I was like, hey, can you give me a ride? He goes, yeah, I don't give a fuck. So we got in his truck and we passed First Sergeant No Neck. And he whipped around. Well, I told my buddy, I was like, hey, pull over here, go around the back of where the range instructors are, and drop me off, and then I'll start walking like I'm coming from the barracks. So it kind of was a um so I made my mistakes. Um and then I had just lost rank. I went from an E3 to an E2 from the previous NJP. And then from this one, 6 days later, I went from an E2 to an E1 for riding in a POV going against restriction. And then I guess they were trying to court martial me for larceny of government property. And the gunnery sergeant Pullum was tap dancing on everybody's desk, keeping me in. And I got tired of the fuck games. So I was like, hey, Gunny, can we go outside and talk? He goes, yeah. We went outside. I said, can we drop rank right now? And he's absolutely. I said, listen, I'm tired of fuck games. I'm tired. I'm just absolutely exhausted. I don't know where I fucked up. I've asked for help. I can't get it. I'm done. And he goes, are you sure? I said, yeah, Gunny, stop tap dancing. I appreciate it very much. I really do. Just stop. 2 days later, I was out of the Marine Corps.
That was quite the journey.
And there's more details. I just tried to do it in 20 minutes.
Have you ever talked to that Gunny since then?
Pull him.
Mhm.
I follow him on Facebook. He follows, or not Facebook, on TikTok. He's supposed to be writing me a letter, a character letter for my upgrade review.
Good. I'm glad y'all are still in contact.
Yeah, he's a popo in Atlanta.
You need people like that in your life, though. The ones that, no matter what season you're going through, they seem to understand you.
You you say that. The one person I never thought would wrap their arms around me, which is his whole motto. Sergeant Major Schickel. And if y'all don't know who Sergeant Major Schickel is, go watch one of my episodes. What is a veteran? Is the topic. It's what is a veteran with Sergeant Major Schickel. And he was actually my MEF Sergeant Major. So we crossed paths in Iraq.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And I don't know if you were there for it. I was talking about it last night. I talk to him at least once a week.
That's awesome.
I'm an E1 that got kicked out of the Marine Corps that is in conversation once a week with a sergeant major of the Marine Corps that retired after 29 years, I think, or 26 years, something like that. And he's the one that is actually helping me with my upgrade review.
Good.
Listen, you got a super emotional side of me.
I'm good at that.
You're an asshole.
You love me. All right. Why don't you end it then on how you started how or why you started the Life Liberty podcast? How about that?
All right, sure. Yeah, the Life Liberty show was started. It was actually renamed. So the podcast was F Your Feelings. I'd started getting into politics. I have an opinion on just about everything, and I don't really give a fuck what your feelings are about it. So it was F Your Feelings. I made people cry on the show. But I have some religious family members that want to support me, but they won't wear merch that says F Your Feelings on it.
Okay.
It was a branding thing. I changed the branding. I was named, my name on TikTok a while back was Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness, because I am absolutely an independent, libertarian, constitutionalist, whatever you want to say, small government. And I changed my name over on Clapper because it wouldn't hold the whole thing, right? Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness was too many characters. So I just changed my name to Life Liberty. And with this whole thing, I gained a identity, I guess, as Life Liberty, right? So
and an outlet.
Yeah, I've gained a voice. People wanted to know who I was. They would follow me. They came in, they wanted to come into my lives and have the conversations. So I'm Life Liberty. And as we did the rebrand, we rebranded to the Life Liberty Show. And I don't perform exactly the same way I did on F Your Feelings, but I still don't give a fuck about your feelings whenever it comes to facts or my opinion. I will listen to your opinion. I will put it into place, or I will take it into advisement or consideration, however you want to put it. But whenever I have my opinion, I see what I see. And I love getting into conversations with people that disagree with me as long as they can have a discussion.
Yes.
Right? I don't call people names. I don't degrade somebody's opinion, but I will challenge it. And that's what my whole show is about. I talk politics, I talk world politics, and I occasionally address veteran issues that I feel need to be addressed. And if you've seen my video on TikTok, it says go to thelifelibernyshow.com. If you like what I have to say, my show is about politics, world politics, veteran issues, and just whatever the fuck I want to talk about.
I
Kind of
love
how
it.
that goes.
Also ironic that you make other people cry and I made you emotional. So we've
Yes,
come full circle.
it did happen. It did happen.
Oh, I love it. All right. What final piece of advice, tidbit, whatever you want to say, do you want to give to my listeners?
I think the best piece of advice is probably, as corny as it is, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And if you want to be somebody different, you're the only person that can make that choice.
True story. You are the only person that can make that choice.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a
This is how
lot
to
more
do.
fun than I thought it would be.
Ah, see? I can still surprise you. Ah, and this is how to deal when the shit gets real, guys. I will see you all next episode.